Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiast. First up on the show today, the Range Rover Evoque. The new Evoque has been selling like hotcakes in the United States market and overseas. In fact, in the US market, I think that they've probably doubled the Range Rover Land Rover footprint over a year ago since this vehicle's actually been sold, because these things are selling like crazy. And it's not for any part of being that absolutely gorgeous bodywork that is on this particular vehicle. This thing has beautiful road presence when you see one of these heading down the highway, and we're going to see a new one that may look even as well as this hardtop version. It's the convertible version. Saw this shown off at the 2012 Geneva Motor Show, but we're hearing rumors that Range Rover is going to bring this vehicle out in the year of 2014. Now, we assume that the drivetrain options on this are going to be much the same as actual drivetrain options are on the hardtop version. Now, something that is rumored about is that they're going to ditch the tin top version, the hard convertible top version, for a fabric convertible version, maybe more of far lines of trying to keep costs down a little bit and keep the production actually moving a little bit smoother by building a convertible top that's fabric. Not for sure when this vehicle will actually go on sale. No idea of what pricing may be on this vehicle, but I'm sure this thing's going to sell just as well as the hardtop version. Now, this isn't the first time we've ever seen a convertible SUV in the United States, as Nissan's been selling this sucker, the Nissan Murano convertible. This was actually a picture I took myself. Found this vehicle several years ago, and boy, the salesman sure was excited about this car. Way more excited than I would ever be about it. Now, it's not the world's most ugly looking automobile, but to me, if you're going to buy an SUV, why have all the utility taken out of it? It might as well just be called an SV because of the convertible version. The funny thing was, too, is the guy was pretty excited about selling it to me, as most salespeople are. But he said that I better pull the trigger quick because there was another fella that was excited about this car, too. But he was a little bit torn in between this, a Nissan Murano that's a four-door sport utility vehicle with no roof, or a two-door sports car that was the Nissan 370Z, or still is the Nissan 370Z. Weird vehicles to be torn in between a two-seater sports car and a convertible sport ute. So I thought it was kind of weird, at least. Nothing to say. This particular dealership's already sold a couple of these cars, which I was super impressed. I figured this vehicle would still be sitting on the dealer lot today. Next up on the list, the Volkswagen Phaeton. Speaking of a vehicle that didn't sell very well in the U.S. market, in fact, it's been DOA in the U.S. market for several years. Funny enough, the week that I actually found this particular story, I was actually doing some work on a fella's 2012 Turbo Beetle. And right behind that Turbo Beetle sat his original Volkswagen Phaeton. He had one of the rare birds, one of the 300 that were brought to the United States, in his words, of the W12 engine version of the Phaeton. Well, the Phaeton has sold well everywhere else around the world, but just didn't catch on here. Maybe jumped the gun a little bit too much, and the U.S. market wasn't ready for that expensive of a Volkswagen. Maybe the same issue Hyundai has with the brand new Equus. Don't know if the U.S. market is ready for a $60,000, $70,000 Hyundai. But that being said, the Volkswagen was a fantastic automobile, and the new version of it apparently could be making its triumphant return to the United States. We're hearing that we may get official word in January of 2014 whether this vehicle makes its return or whether it's going to show off at some auto show somewhere. Can't wait to see what this could be on this particular vehicle. Winterkorn, who is the head of Volkswagen, said that they're way too big of a company not to have a big sedan, a flagship sedan in the U.S. market. So Phaeton may come in round 2 to see if it can make an official go of it here in the U.S. market. Next up on the list, the Ford Mustang is in the news. The brand new 2015 Mustang. There are tons of videos on the interwebs, tons of picture on the interwebs as well of this thing pounding around racetracks, cold weather testing, hot weather testing, but in heavy camouflage. And you can't make up any hinder end of this particular vehicle as far as what the looks are of this vehicle. But we may get a little bit of a sneak peek at this vehicle. Back in 1964, they built a 64.5 Ford Mustang. Well, sounds like they're going to do it all over again in 2014. Ford giving a little tip of the hat to the old days. They're going to have a 2014 and a half Ford Mustang. This has been floating around a ton of the Mustang web pages everywhere, and the thing seems to be catching some traction. This may be true, that they may bring out the all-new Ford Mustang, only 1,000 units in a mid-year little dicing here. Now, the year of 2014, as far as model years of automobiles, has already started, which means that we could see this by the end of 2013. Cannot wait to see what this comes of this deal. Now, according to this situation, it's going to have specially detailed VIN tags and a special build numbers that are not going to be tied into the 2015 model, because they will be 2014 and a half. 1,000 units only going to be built. No word on what powertrain or pricing or anything like this is, as this is still a pretty hot button rumor floating about. So can't wait to see if this is true, but we may be just a handful of months away from seeing the official debut of the brand new Mustang. Next up on the list, we're going to talk about chickens. Yes, the first time ever, maybe the only time ever we ever talk about chickens on Motor Cars Enthusiasts. This is an interesting story and was brought over by Autoline.tv, which that's a fantastic little website. This particular deal back in the 1960s, and this is actually going to tie into an automobile story, trust me. Just hang with me for a moment, it'll get there. Of what may be happening to a car that's no longer going to be sold in the U.S. market. Now let's get back to chickens. Back in the 1960s, Europe put an actual tariff on U.S. inbound chickens, which infuriated the U.S. government. So they decided to put a tariff on any inbound commercial vehicles, vans, trucks, of the like, into the U.S. market. Well, they couldn't do it just against Europe, so they had to do it against the world, which ended up having an issue. This is a 25% tax on these particular inbound vehicles. So that's why a lot of vehicles, like you look at the Toyota Tundras built here in the United States, that's the exact reason why. Also, I can remember back in the day when Nissan first started bringing some of their pickup trucks over, they were actually assembling the beds, and a lot of the electrical system was done here in the United States, and then the vehicle half put together was shipped over from Japan and then reassembled here enough to make it a U.S. spec vehicle to get around the tariffs, which is why the chicken. And why the chicken thing, now it's called the chicken tax in the United States, or at least it has been since the 1960s. Now, what's the automobile that's latest to be infected by the chicken tax? Well, it's the Mini Club Van. Now, the Club Van's actually basically a Clubman with panels on the back of it. The Clubman actually is an extended wheelbase Mini Cooper with glass all the way around, but the Club Van is actually a panel version where the rear quarter glasses and the two rears opening door glasses are actually all paneled over, and it gives us this kind of panel wagon type look. Now, as far as utility, there's just a touch over 30 cubic feet of space in this particular model, which if you pair it up to like the Ford Transit Connect, it has well over 100 cubic feet of space that's usable in the vehicle. So obviously there's a huge disconnect when it comes to these particular models. But with that 25% tax on there, Mini's only sold 50 of these things for the year of 2013, which is horribly bad. So classically, Mini's going to drop this particular model in the U.S. market, which is kind of sad to say. But if you could probably pound around to some of the BMW dealership and get one of the rarest 2013 model year automobiles on the planet if you go try to find yourself a Mini Club Van. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this week's Motor Cars Enthusiast. If you want to jump on over to the Facebook page, the link's down in the show notes. It'll take you right over there. You can check out all the pictures that we show off there. Gets updated every day. Also, if you want to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time and get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.